Hello, my name is Christoph Reichert. I'm with CBR Technology. We are a Microsoft CSP Tier 1 provider in California, and today I would like to discuss the inventory cross-reference features of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, formerly known as Dynamics Nav. This functionality has fundamentally not changed a number of generations of this product. I would like to go over how it has been deployed in the Business Central solution today. As part of this video, we will cover the capabilities of the solution with regards to the customer item number reference as well as the customer item description. The same function also covers vendor item numbers and vendor descriptions. You can also, lesser known fact, track multiple UPC codes in the item cross-reference database. And then finally, I want to go over how this will affect your sales transactions, and that is, of course, sales quotes, sales orders, sales returns, sales credit memos, and sales invoices, as well as purchase orders, primarily purchase orders themselves, but of course, this function will also work on purchase returns and purchase quotations. Having said this, let me go ahead and launch Business Central so you can see what this looks like in the live environment. So here I'm logged into Kronos USA on the browser and logged in to, of course, the sample company that contains nothing but fictitious data. When you pull up the item database, you'll see that I've made some modification to a default item that you all have in your databases, but I wanted to show off a few capabilities of the solution, specifically, obviously, cross-reference capabilities. So to access cross-reference capabilities from the items perspective, you go to related items and choose the cross-reference section. If you are looking at the cross-reference database from a customer or a vendor perspective, you can do that as well. I will show you that in just a moment. When I open up the cross-reference database from the item perspective, you will see all cross-reference records that are related to this particular item. So in this case, I have a number of default options in here. Let me just sort them so they show a bit more cleanly. You can have, of course, customer references. So this is our item number 1900-S, Paris guest chair. What is that in customer's perspective? And this is referring to a particular customer, in this case, customer 10,000. Their part number is ABC-123. And they're referring to this item usually as PCS or piece. I did configure unit of measures just to show you this kind of capability in the solution as well. So this particular chair, sample chair here, is sold either or can be managed as a piece, as a 2-pack, or as a pallet of 6. So depending on where I sell or buy it from or to, I have the option of using any of these 3 combinations, and there is a hard-coded relationship between these unit of measures. So before I continue on with the cross-reference capabilities, I wanted to make sure I show you the multiple unit of measures as well, which is right below cross-references. And in this case, you see a database that reflects this type of capability. Quantity unit of measure 1 is always referring to your base unit of measure. In this case, PCS. You have the ability to specify height, width, and length, dimensions typically in inches, and then weight information as well. And this information would be used by interface systems such as Dynamic Ship from InsightWorks and other shipping modules that deal with shipping and weight information about items as well. Of course, you can certainly import that or synchronize that with e-commerce platforms as well. So this particular item comes in a piece, in a 2-pack, and a pallet of 6, and has different dimensions and weights in accordance with that. So coming back to my cross-reference system here, you'll see that I also now have the ability to use that same unit of measure in these tables as well. So this particular one, a customer has item number ABC123. They always purchase pieces, and they have a different description for the item, as you can see in the Parisian style chair. For the vendor, I set up a different part number, and I usually buy this in a 2-pack. And I finally wanted to make sure I show you this other feature as well, which is barcode capabilities. It is quite common that, for example, when you buy a Coca-Cola, they come as a individually packaged product. So just a bottle of Coca-Cola is 1 UPC code, but then you can buy it in a 6-pack or in a 12-pack. And each one of these unit measures would have their own barcode. And this shows you the capability to reference multiple barcodes to not just the item, but the item in conjunction with a unit of measure. So after you set up the item database, I wanted to also circle back and show you the customer reference there right now. So I launched the customer listing page and wanted to show you how to update the item cross-reference information from a customer's perspective. So in my case, I'm pulling up our client or customer 10,000 in the database here, and if I go to related customer cross-reference information, I'll see the same information I looked at a moment ago from an items perspective, but in this case, it has been filtered to only reflect those records that relate to the customer 10,000. In this case, there's only 2 records, so this customer only buys 2 items from us, ABC-123 and 124, and it's 1900 and 1908-S. So this is a very filtered view of the cross-reference database, and the same concept applies to a vendor database as well. So if I go over to my vendor database, and now obviously we are on the purchasing and acquisition part of it, so Worldwide Importers is one of the vendors I purchase some of our items from. When I go to related vendor cross-reference information here, you'll see that we buy 2 items from them, also 1900 and 1908-S, but we buy in different unit of measures. As you can see here, this particular item we buy in 2-pack, this we buy in pieces, and they of course have totally different item numbers in there as well. I could have also added description that's unique to this vendor. If I don't use the description field here, the system will use the default description from our item database in the item master database itself. So from that, I'd like to transition over to a sales transaction to show you how these cross-reference could be used during data entry. So I've navigated over to my open sales order page, and I'm going to just pretend to create a brand new transaction. So I'm going to do a new sale to the client we're dealing with here, 10,000, and pull up the database record for them in terms of shipping address and bill to information and what have you. This information is typically, of course, completed. I'm going to ignore it for the time being because I wanted to focus on how easy it is to only sell this customer the product that they actually buy from us. So essentially, you can think of this as a sub-item catalog that is unique to this customer. So if I did a normal item lookup, it would showing me thousands of items or whatever I have in my database for actual inventory that is sold in the company. However, if I use a field called cross-reference, which you can add to the system using your personalization options, and you do a lookup on here, you will see that it only shows you those items that this customer actually buys from us. So after you started creating the sales order for a particular customer, then the cross-reference sub-listing that you see here will only show those records of items that are being bought by this customer. So in my case here, I'm going to do ABC-123. By the way, I could have also, instead of looking it up, actually type in ABC.123. So if you're doing data entry of a purchase order from a customer, you just type in the item number here and just hit tab, and the system will retrieve all the appropriate information automatically at that point. Now this will retrieve our item number 1900-S, our description. Now notice that the description is not our description, but it's the customer description I put in the database. And then you continue with your process as you normally do. So that is a very nice feature. This works not just on sales orders, but all sales transactions. So you can do this on sales quotes, sales orders, sales returns, credit memos, and invoices. So all sales documents have this capability, which makes using that part of the cross-reference capabilities of Business Central quite useful and powerful in most distribution wholesale organizations. Lastly, I would like to show you the purchasing side of the cross-reference capabilities. I'm going to create a brand new purchase order. I've switched over to the purchasing module. And after I select the vendor, in this case it was Worldwide Importers, vendor ID 40,000 that we've set up the cross-reference for. And I go again to the item number field. The purchase order reacts and works just like the sales order does. I could look up our regular item numbers using the item number field, or I can go to my cross-reference field, look up here only those items that I purchased from this vendor. It's important to note that it's not just the number and the description that we covered earlier, but it is also the unit of measure. So in this case, you see that the system has a 2-pack option. So when I buy this item from this vendor, I normally purchase a 2-pack, even though my default unit of measure for a purchase acquisition could have been a piece or a pallet. So this is quite powerful and gives you a lot of capabilities with regards to vendor specific purchasing configurations in the software. Obviously mission critical for distribution, wholesale, and manufacturing industries. And of course, we'd be more than happy to assist you with these types of configurations. On the purchase order, it's also important to note that this cross-reference capability is then also extended into purchase quotations and purchase returns as well. So again, just like in the sales module, Microsoft has taken this type of capability and rolled it out to all purchasing transactions, not just limited to a purchase order. Thank you for looking through these cross-reference capabilities with me. Would love to work with you on your project. Obviously, there is a million things you need to consider and think about when you implement these kind of solutions. Although we encourage our clients to be as self-sufficient as possible, we do recommend that you have a Microsoft certified professional by your side when you do some of these core configurations and setups. And of course, we'd be loving the opportunity to work with you and your team members on your project. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're at 855-227-0700, and we would love to work with you on your Business Central implementation. Take care.